Hello and welcome to another Databite video. Today we are going to be talking about space engineers and more specifically a tutorial for the new full release of space engineers. So essentially about a week or two ago, the space engineers got a big update and it's now out of beta. As you can see, the beta sign is now no longer there, and there's been a lot of changes made to survival. So I'm now going to make a tutorial for that, because, you know, for new players and returning players, I'm expecting there to be an influx of new players because of the update. Generally there is. And yeah, I guess I'm just making this tutorial to help people get started. So survival has been made a lot easier, well, a lot like simpler to start off. Like, it doesn't just throw you into having to do everything straight away. Once you're in the menu, what you'll want to do is click New Game, go to Custom Game, go to Star System, click on that, then you'll want to write a name in, just go whatever you want. Okay, you can enter a description if you want, but I generally don't. So then make sure it's on survival. Creative is fun, but I'm just going to be doing survival today. I'm just going to keep the online mode offline. I do that if it's your first time playing, because people can join and you know, mess you up. So I'm just going to leave everything at default. I just play in the first normal game. Actually, what I do is actually just turn up assembler efficiency and refinery speed, because it's often takes a lot of time, the starting assembler and refinery, to actually refine some of the stuff. And I'm going to go blocks inventory size ×3 as well, just so that they can hold more. Okay, and then you're going to click OK, and click Start. So the loading time will vary on what sort of computer you have and whether you're using an SSD drive or whatever. But generally it's about 20 seconds to a minute. Although on really bad computers it can be longer, and especially if you're joining a server it can take quite a long time. Okay, so now we're in. This is the respawn screen. So this is what we get when we first drop in. So what you want to do, so this is where you pick the ship that you start in. So if you played this game before, you might think, oh well, the only ship I can start in is the space pod because it's the only large block ship, and before that was the case, you could only start off in a large block ship. Well, you could start off in small ones, meaning that you had the option to, but you weren't able to actually survive with them. So you might just go ahead and click Spacebot, but don't, because they've added a new block to the game called the Survival Kit, which is actually can be placed on a small grid, and it doubles as a refinery. So I'm just for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to go for Earth-like drop pod and click Respawn. Okay, so when you respawn, you'll be falling towards the ground pretty fast. So what you're gonna, so this before you had to actually land your lander, now it just sort of does it itself. Hold on in a second, it should deploy the parachute. There we go. So it has a parachute that automatically deploys, so you won't have to worry about any of that. So looks like, so when you land, you're gonna want to look for ice, because ice is well, in any other planet than Earth, it's pretty much vital to top up your oxygen. The lander has a tiny bit of ice in it, but it's only 300 and won't last you long. But no matter where you are, you'll need ice to top up your jetpack fuel, which is on the left-hand corner. You have your health, oxygen, power, and hydrogen. Now, because I'm on an Earth planet, what I did, I just hit J as soon as I landed, and my helmet popped off. You can see if I hit J again, you can see the little symbol up there changing. So if you have your helmet down, then you'll use oxygen. But on Earth, because you can breathe, you can have it up. And then you won't lose any oxygen. Power is what tools need. I mean, health is fairly obvious, but power is what tools need. Also, in some places, if you run out of power, you'll start taking damage now from the temperature. But here you can see it's warm. And also, energy slowly depletes over time as well. You can see it's already gone down to 99. And hydrogen depletes really fast on planets, so I'm going to try and not use my jetpack. Like, I'm going to try and use it as little as possible. So, I don't see any ice near to us. If you land on like a mountain that has snow on it, then you're fine. Or if you land close to a blue ice lake, then that's fine. They look like normal lakes, but they're actually ice. It's all frozen. No water. Sad. Okay, so when you touch down, the first thing you want to do is just pull out your drill, which should be 3 on your hotbar. Press C to crouch, and then aim it at the ground to just hold left click. Or actually, hold right click for a minute. And that basically mines faster. Left click mines and gives you like resources for it, but right click but it mines quite slowly, whereas right click mines faster but doesn't give you any resources. So what you want to do, you want to mine down to where there's stone, which is this greyish stuff obviously, and then you want to start. You can get stone from anything, but you get more stone if you're actually mining rock. So you just want to keep on moving around and holding left click now to mine, and once you get more of that stuff, you can just flex it.
Inventory full.
Okay, so you can see the bar at the bottom of your, just above your hotbar is your inventory, and that basically fills up with stuff. So if you hit I, you can see your inventory contents. So currently I have a full inventory. I've got my 3 tools and then stone. So I'm just going to, now what you need to do is go back to the back of your lander, press F, and then you'll see survival kit. So now drag this stone into the survival kit, and it will go in. Now what you want to do is, see up at the top here, there's a bar. You'll want to go to production, and go on these ingots, hold shift, and click a few times. This will queue up some ingots. So the survival kit turns stone into small amounts of ingots, which you can then use to build basic components. It's also an assembler, so if you go on blueprints, there's a few things here. So there's basic tools, basic components, so you can queue up some components here. The cool thing is now with the new update, you don't have to wait for previous items to be finished. It can just start producing new items straight away. That's for all assemblers and refineries. So I'm just going to go ahead and gather more stone. So, by the way, when you're at the bottom of this hole, I forgot to mention this, to get back up, you'll either have to dig your way back up, like through a tunnel that you can walk up, or else you want to hit X and use your jetpack to fly up. Now, when you're jetpacking, you can hold space to move up, WASD to move around, as with all games, C to move down, Q and E to roll, and X to toggle this on and off. So, in space, you don't use much jetpack hydrogen. You just sort of, you don't use much, and same on the moon and, well, just on moons and planets. But on full-size planets like Earth and Mars, you're going to be using a lot of hydrogen. You can see I'm already at 84 and I've only used it for a few seconds. So that's a big issue, which is why we're going to try and get ice as soon as possible. So we're just going to fill up our inventory and head over back to our respawn pod. Okay, so I'm just going to skip forward a bit. I'm just going to gather lots of stone and convert it all into ingots. Okay, so once you've got enough stone, I've got quite a lot more than I intended to, but I've got quite a lot, so I'd say at least 500 iron, and you'll need. I generally base this off how much iron I've made. So you can see you get a bit of nickel and silicon as well as iron and gravel. You don't actually need as much nickel and silicon as you need iron, and gravel is pretty pointless at this point. Like, you don't really need it for anything. The only real thing that gravel is used for, it's not used for anything in here. Later on in the game, you can make, if you get to space, you can make nuclear reactors, and you'll need gravel for those. But anyways, you can see that my hydrogen is fairly low at this point, so to top us up, what you want to do is just walk over to the survival kit, and hold F to top up your hydrogen. As you can see, it goes up. Now, you only want to hold that until your hydrogen is at the top, and or else you'll waste quite a bit of ice. So you can see in the, if I go into the inventory on this, you can just, oh yeah, you just press F on these things to interact with them, by the way. F is like interact. For older players, that'll probably be T, unless your game has automatically reset it. So you can see I have 283 ice in here. That was at 300 a minute ago, but because I've topped up my hydrogen, it's used up a bit. That's also how you top up your energy. The survival kit tops up everything: health, oxygen, energy, hydrogen. To make it work, it has to be connected to an oxygen generator with ice in it. Or a hydrogen or oxygen tank, but those are later game things. So what I want to do now is press I to go into inventory, and oh wait, sorry, no, press G, and that will go into your block toolbar. Now before it would have, you might be a bit confused with this, because before it would have like everything here straight away, but now you actually have to unlock blocks by building previous blocks. So say that I wanted to build an interior turret. To build that, I would have to first build a basic assembler. That is also a new block. You also have the basic refinery and the basic assembler as new blocks, and the wind turbine. And also, if I can find it somewhere, ladders, which people have been really wanting them for a long time, but yeah, they've added ladders back again. So yeah, there's the new blocks, and oh yeah, also the hydrogen engine, which is pretty cool. Let's search. Yeah, that's basically, it looks a bit like a diesel engine, but it's pretty cool. So it can convert hydrogen into power. And anyways, now what we want to do, this seems a bit mad, but we're actually going to pull out our grinder, go up to one of these atmospheric thrusters, and hold left click to grind it all the way down. Now, if you go into your inventory, that's actually given us parts. Now, why we grinded one of those down is to get a large steel tube. Now, the survival kit can't actually make large steel tubes. You need a basic assembler for that, and we don't have one of those yet. So we're just grinding one of these down for a large steel tube in the meantime, because what we're going to do, because there's no ice nearby, we're actually going to fly this lander to the ice. This can actually fly, you just need to make some modifications to it first. The moon one can fly by itself. The moon starts a bit different. You get a rover for that, and that actually has a little hydrogen thruster on the bottom. In fact, I think they all do, but don't use that. It's a waste of ice. Yeah, they all have a little hydrogen thruster. There you go. There it is. And that uses hydrogen to pull it up, but we don't need to use that because we have these atmospheric thrusters, which don't need any fuel at all. They just need power, which is coming from this battery. Now, this is a pretty big battery, and it has quite a lot of charge in it, so you don't really need to worry about power yet. But now what you want to do is you want to press G, and as you can see, so the blocks that we need are the remote control, which is somewhere down. There we go. So, the remote control and the gyroscope. So to build a gyroscope, we need to build a remote control. And to build a remote control, we actually have to build a landing gear, which is actually really easy because our pod has landing gears. All that we need to do is grind one down a bit. So on the right, there's a little line. It says functional. All you need to do is grind it slowly until it's past that, and then you switch to your welder, which is 1 by default, and hold left click. And now it says, by building landing gear, you have unlocked new blocks. So now when you press G, you can see that it's added quite a lot of new things. So one of the things is the remote control. So we just drag that down, and so it says now we need interior plate to build remote control, but that's where the stone comes in that we mined earlier. So as you can see on the right, it gives you a list of components to build a remote control. So we need 2 interior plates, 1 construction component, 1 motor, and 1 computer. So I'm just going to quickly make those. 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. Okay, so now we're just going to grab all of those once it's finished making them, and we're just going to go over to the front here and left click on that to place it. I'm just going to switch to our welder and hold left click to build it. So it takes a second, but there you go. So we now have our remote control. So now that lets us actually control our ship from the sea. But we can't actually fly it yet, because even though it can move around using these thrusters, there's no way to actually turn it, meaning that the only way that you can fly is straight up. This is a bit of a hard ship to fly, because it doesn't have any forward or backward or left or right thrusters, so you can basically have to fly it like a helicopter, actually turning it to move in different directions. But currently it can't turn, because it doesn't have a gyroscope, so we're going to have to add a gyroscope, so just drag that down to wherever you feel like. And then, to place it, we're going to need a steel plate. We're going to need 25 steel plates, 5 construction components, 1 large steel tube, 2 motors, and 3 computers. This is a bit more expensive. So we're just going to left click to place that. So that's when you placed a frame. That's using a steel plate that we got from the atmospheric thruster earlier. And this is why we needed to grind down the atmospheric thruster. So as you can see, it needs 1 large steel tube, which we can't make using the survival kit. So we had to grind down that little thruster to get a steel tube. So we need quite a lot of steel plates. It's 25. So what you can do when you're building, you can hold Control to make 10. You just click normally to make 1, and then Shift to make 100. So we're just going to click Control twice, and then regular click 5 times. We're going to need 2 motors, and I think it is 5 construction components. And 3 computers. So it might not start for a second, but once it's done you can just go into the inventory screen and just grab all of these. And now we're going to weld these with our little welder. So we can now weld the whole gyroscope up, and then we are ready for takeoff. So we can actually fly this for quite a while. I mean, I think it's got 20 minutes of thrusting up, but we're not going to be thrusting up most of the time. We're only going to use that for launch if we need to fly a bit faster. So now what you want to do, hop into the seat by pressing F, and then press K to go into the control panel. So we can go into the inventory and everything else from here. What you're going to be looking for is the control panel. You can also just do I and then click control panel, but K is the faster way to do it. Now what we want to do is click on this button, show hidden blocks, and that will show all of these hidden blocks. So now what you want to do is click on atmospheric thrusters, and then you want to click on the top one, go down to the bottom one, hold shift and click that. That will select them all. And we want to click on toggle block, and they will now power on. So we are now, our atmospheric thrusters are on. Now back to the K menu, we have our gyroscope is on, and now what I want to do is find a remote control, go down, scroll down to it, click control, and that actually now we can control our ship. So what we're going to need to do, this is like flying a jetpack, this is like flying with a jetpack, so you're just going to need to press P first to unlock your landing gear, and then hold space to thrust up. So you want to fly up quite a bit. This is quite hard to do, and look for either snow or an ice lake. An ice lake is the more ideal option. It has more ice than snow places, and also generally has more ore, which will be more important later. So yeah, in this game you're always thinking about the future, not just what's happening right now. You've always got to like plan for what's going to happen ahead of time. So we're just going to keep on flying around a bit. There is snow right here, but I'm not sure about landing on it because they're on top of mountains, meaning that a rover wouldn't be a very good idea later on. So we would have to move in straight into building a ship, and ships need a lot of power to fly. Okay, so I was just going up to my landing site, and then I spied an ice lake, which is actually in a pretty good spot. So I'm going to go to that instead. Sorry for all of these chains of direction, but I'm just looking to set up in the best spot possible for any points in the game. So I actually found a little rock back there that jutted up out of the ground, and it was pretty high, and it would be a really good spot for a multiplayer base if you were looking for somewhere defendable. But because we're in single player right now, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we are now going to come in and land. So landing this thing is tricky without breaking it really hard. Also, I think I see some more down there, that exceptionally dark spot there. I'm trying to sort of aim at it with the front of my ship. That could be also that over there. Could be, and up there on the mountain. There's a lot of ore around ice lakes. So now what you want to do is you want to brake. So just start throttling back a bit. So I think I'm actually going to land up here on the hillside, just to see what the ore is. Actually, I might land. Yeah, I'm going to land down here. Generally, landing down is a pretty nice idea. Just so that you. Also, just before I'm landing, I'm just going to do something. You might not want to do this, you might just want to do this with the drill yourself later, but I'm just going to go over to these dark spots, especially on the ice lake, and see what sort of ore they are. So the closer one is going to be... So this ship has an ore detector which can actually see what sort of ores are under these dark spots. Magnesium and silicon. So, hey, you probably want to do that. Won't want to do this. It's a bit dangerous. So that was magnesium and silicon. So I'll put a GPS on that in a second. Okay. So and I'm just gonna land over here on this flat area. I generally don't like landing on ice lakes. They're A, they're slippy, and B, they're now a bit low just for the wind turbines. So I'm gonna land around here somewhere, and yeah. Also, I'm gonna land on this ore spot just to you know, have an easy access to some sort of ore later. Okay, so we have iron and cobalt. Cobalt is a very good thing to have because it can actually make, it's the parts that you need to make large block containers, which are very handy for storing stuff, obviously. Also, we've got iron, which is probably the most useful of all the ores. Oh, also nickel, which is really useful as well. So, in fact, I'm just going to slide. Okay, so what you want to do, you just want to really come close to stopping, and then you just want to hold C until you touch the ground. So the landing gear will actually auto lock. And once you touch the ground, you just want to hit K, go to Control Panel, find the atmospheric thrusters again, do the same thing as earlier and shut them off to save power. You also want to turn off the gyroscope, and yeah. So now you just want to get out of the lander again. And now we can actually start building a base now that we have a good location. And over here as well, there should be nickel. Yeah, there we go, nickel. Okay, so there is also, I did see silicon and nickel back over at the ice lake as well. Silicon is also really useful. So right here we have pretty much the 4 resources that are most useful at this point in the game: silicon, iron, cobalt, and nickel. So the survival kit doesn't actually make cobalt, but iron, nickel, and silicon are really useful to have too because you need a lot of it at this point. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to mine some more stone. You can't actually refine the iron yet, you need an actual refinery for that. But what we're going to do, we're going to hold right click again, we're just going to dig down on it and find some stone. And just mine it like earlier, so I'll be back once I have lots of stone, so you'll want a lot more for building a base. Okay, so essentially, once you have about 1k iron in your survival kit, I think you're ready to go for building a base. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're just going to make 10 also steel plates, and also just an interior plate, just a single interior plate, actually maybe 2 interior plates. Okay, so now we're just going to grab those things, and we're going to start building a base. So what you want to do when you press, so you want to get light armor block, press 4 for that by default. And then if it comes out in small block format, it probably will if you've edited your lander. By the way, you don't need to do any of that flying stuff if you're already close to ice or an ice lake. So, what you want to do, you want to press 4 again. You press 4, well, you press the same button again to toggle between large block and small block. We're going to need large block. So we're just going to put that on the ground, left click to place a frame. We're just going to now, what we're going to do, we're going to press X to activate our jetpack, and then I'm going to build up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 even, and then what we're going to do is press 7 to place a wind turbine. So that, we're going to need to weld up that in a second, and then we'll, okay, so we're going to need to weld up the wind turbine. I got the extra interior plate for another wind turbine if we're going to make one. First of all though, I'm just going to make another 10 steel plates, just to build some extra things. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing again, but this time I'm going to show you, rather than build up all the way again, I mean that does look prettier, but it's less efficient. So what we're going to do, we're going to build out 3, and then we're going to build another wind turbine. Okay, so that'll be enough to get power up. So again, if your hydrogen gets low, just run over to your little lander and hold T on this thing. Another little nifty trick is to go to this big thing on the side of it, and get hydrogen, and take out the hydrogen bottle. This now gives us a lot more hydrogen capacity, so every time our hydrogen gets low, it'll get topped up by the hydrogen bottle, and this thing will last a long time. Problem is that it takes quite a lot of ice to top up, but it's pretty handy at the start. It comes fully topped up, so if you run out of ice, that's your other option for topping up, or if you're needing to do quite a long flight with your jetpack. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go down to the ground, we're going to build 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to press 5, find the basic, so we have the basic assembler, and we're going to rotate this using home, page up, page down, end, insert, and delete. And then you're going to rotate that so that it's facing, with the yellow square facing this, well, just in the way that your platform is built, like this. The next thing we're going to get is press 6 and get the basic refinery. Actually, no, wait, I've got a different plan. So we're going to build another light armor block, and then we're going to press 6 and build our basic refinery facing this direction. So that's now built that place facing in this direction. Now what we're going to do is we're going to press G again, find small cargo container, drag that down to something. I'm going to replace solar panel with it, and we're going to need an interior plate to build that, so I'm just going to run over to my lander really quick and grab one. So we aren't going to be able to weld this up straight away, we're going to need cobalt for it, but I am going to, actually we could probably, if we took down the landers, yeah, if you took down the landers engines, you'd be able to build it, because these need metal grids, the large block ones. Wait, you need 4 of them. Actually, yeah, you can get that from the landing pod, but we're not going to do that just for purposes of, you know, this video. So we're just going to place that down, and then we're going to, so the first thing we're going to want to do is weld up this basic assembler. So this is going to take a lot of resources, so we're going to need 80 steel plates, 80 computers, 4 displays, 10 motors, and 40 construction components. So let's get started on that then. So I'm just going to run over to my lander. This is why you need a lot of stone to actually make a base. So we need to queue up 80 steel plates. Okay. And then 80 computers. 40 construction components. And I think it's something like 10 motors and 4 displays. 10 motors and 1, 2, 3, 4 displays. So this will take a while to build, so I'm just going to skip forward on this. Okay, so now all of our components are made, we're just going to bring them into our inventory. So you can actually just double click on them, and it fast adds them to your inventory. So I do have a few extra things here just from dismantling parts of the lander, but yeah, just ignore those. Okay, so now we're just going to run over to our basic assembler and hold left click to weld this up. Okay, so now the basic assembler is done. We're going to need to weld up the wind turbines to, well, or release one of them to give it power. So, to weld up a wind turbine, in fact, why am I using check? It will be 40 interior plates, 2 computers, 24 girders, 20 construction components, and 8 motors. So once again, I'm just going to speed this up until we are done. Okay, so now we have all the parts, we're just going to weld up this wind turbine. And I'm now going to speed the video up and weld up this wind turbine and the basic refinery. Okay, so I've finished building the other wind turbine and the basic refinery, so I'm going to end the video here. So in the next video we are going to be looking at how to mine ore now that we have the refinery to refine it, and also how to collect ice, make an O2 generator, and move the survival kit over onto the base and fully deconstruct our little lander. After that we're planning to make a rover, so yeah, stay safe and continue engineering.